Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream. I'm still working on my February Gryphon illustration. I actually did a little bit of work earlier today, just adding little bits of shadow in the inside part of the nest. I think I still have a lot to do on it because there's some areas where the flower petals are not standing out as much as I want. And then there's just areas where the branches or grass or whatever this is, it's just too bright. I don't want it to end up darker than these back spots, or I need to add more to the back. So I'm just going to keep working on that for now, and then if I feel satisfied with that and there's still time, I'll start working on the outside of the nest more. But for now, I want to get more shadow around these flowers. So I really want them to stand out more. Especially right here, there's just almost no difference. Soon's barking at something. I hope it's package delivery company delivering my new Fitbit. So I ordered the new Fitbit last week. They shipped it right away, but they didn't ship it very fast, so it's been almost a week. Almost a full week. But it's supposed to be here today, and that's the date they've been saying the whole time, Thursday. So I really hope that it gets here soon, especially because when I went on my walk with Soon, a little barking doggy right now, he didn't do anything. My Fitbit would not start tracking via GPS. It wouldn't connect to the phone, and I've had that problem in the past, but this suddenly happening after months and months and months after the problem was initially resolved, I can't help but think that it just has to do with this freaking thing dying, because it's like physically broken. It lost well, the heart rate sensor has this little clear pane in the middle, and surely that's how it reads your heart rate. But there's a huge crack in mine, just out of nowhere. Just a huge crack formed, huge relative to the size of the pane, but it wouldn't track my heart rate. It's not been tracking my sleep very well, and so it's just dead. But I was really happy with hello, Cy the writer. Is this D? I think that's who you are. Is that a side duck? Yeah, hope Soon was barking at my Fitbit getting delivered. Aha, I knew it. Thank you for following me. It's nice to see you here on my chat. How have you been doing? I didn't even know you had a Twitch until yesterday. I don't want to cover up these sticks too much, but I do want them to get darker, so there's no choice. Gotta bring this dark stuff onto them. What the heck? There's a little section here I just never... How did I miss that? Yeah, I noticed you're an affiliate. I noticed you had a bunch of different stuff on your channel that I don't normally see. Getting ready for the move? What move? Tell me. I'm glad you saw my Facebook post too. It's like Facebook is so dumb. You have to like throw money at them for anybody to see anything that you post. It's super annoying. It's like with Facebook, it's like even people, I want to see their posts and it just shows me like ads. And I'm like, I want to see my friends' posts and my family's posts. Portlandia, of course. That's like one of the best places to live in the United States, maybe even in the world. Though I'm partial to Seattle, but that's the Seattle area. The Puget Sound. So you're buying a house in Portland then? Man, we're all buying up all the houses. Like, how many of us have bought houses this year? Yeah, let's just color this one in. It's too bright. So you picked your house, and how do you like it? Like, is it like dream house, or is it like at least I'm in Portland house, or is it somewhere in between? Is it like really good, though you'll definitely be looking in the future, or like what? Okay, I want to be really careful right here because the way I've done the lines here, I'm not sure what is supposed to be background and what's supposed to be petal. Just bring it in a little bit. Oh, huge house. Square footage? How much? How much square footage? Huge. Sure, feel free. Can take a break real quick and check it out. I keep seeing houses in the neighborhood for sale. I'm like, I'm so glad we got our house while we did. Because here in Boise, the market is just exploding. Like, as far as prices are like huge. I hope there's no more little sections that I just totally neglected. Alright, there's no reason for this to be so bright. I need to add some shadow there too. Well, I guess that doesn't surprise me. National prices going up. Okay, let me scoot over real quick. Oh wow, the first picture looks awesome. This is like why I love Portland and Seattle. All this greenery. That looks amazing. Oh, it looks like you got a little fireplace. Yeah, it looks good for parties. That's what I was thinking when I got my house. I want a house I can entertain in. Entertain people. I'm going to look at it more later. But that looks really good. It looks really like clean and like well maintained. Yes, you're like me, just love parties. Parties are the best. I don't know. They're so fun. They're fun to throw. I guess I've always wanted to be the person who throws parties. And as soon as I got old enough to, I started, and it just never stopped. So what do you think you're going to be planting in your backyard? Ours has tons of stuff already, so all I'm trying to do is figure out what everything is and how to take care of it so that it stays nice. Because I don't know if you remember, but my previous house, the background was just crap. It was so bad, and I was like struggling for all those 10 years that I lived there just to keep it going, like just fighting with it. And so this time I do not want to get to that point. It's already nice, so all I have to do is learn how to keep it up and maintain it. Ooh, lilac bushes. Yes, good choice. That is my favorite. In spring, when the lilacs... I'm so lucky I had a lilac at my last house, and at this house we have like 5 lilacs, and some are white and some are pink, and they smell so good. And you leave your window open at night, and it's like, do I want to fall asleep or not? Because it just smells so good. I just want to lay down and smell it. Yeah, cute house. It's definitely better. Cute house, cute yard. I love the trees. The trees are so good. I love, I already said it, but I love all the greenery. It's weird, this little neighborhood that we found, which we had no occasion to be in before, is sort of like especially when it's rainy here, it really reminds me of being in Seattle or Portland, because there's so many old trees and they're huge, and just everybody has tons of plants in their yard. Oh yeah, this part really needs more. Can't even tell that that's not part of the leaf. Oops, I got it on the wet part. Dang it. Oh, okay. Well, have a nice trip, however long it takes you to get over there. Drive safely if that's what you're doing. Driving, I mean, not driving safely. You better drive safely. Dang, I need a stronger brush. Swipe, swipe. This part where I drew on the wet part, it's too dark. Let's take a little color from the pencil. If I add a little color, then it won't look so dark overall. Add a little extra pigment. Yeah, right there. I can't even tell the difference between the stick and the petal. I want it to be obvious from far away, so even though in real life, if this was just a photograph, these colors probably would be pretty close to each other. This is an illustration, and I'm trying to bring to the fore the things that are more thematically important. That's what's great about visual art like this, illustration, you get to pick and choose what the focus is. You get to direct people's attention. In fact, that's sort of your job as an illustrator, is to direct people's attention. Because if you're not actively doing that, then you're not doing your job right. I think that's the difference, well, maybe one of the differences between being an illustrator and being just like a fine artist who just might use the same tools, but instead of trying to tell a story or something like that, they're just expressing something more, what's the word for it? Not highbrow, because that would say that illustration is lowbrow. Something a little more abstract, maybe. More abstract ideas. Or maybe not even trying to have an idea and just allowing the audience to decide what is being communicated. With illustration, you should at least be specifically communicating something. That's why it has a different name. That's why I like it more. I like doing illustrations more than just make some artistic thing. Not saying one has more merit than another, it's just different. And I prefer one over the other, personally. I'm gonna need to start being more, not careful, but conscious, yes. Because I keep forgetting that I put pigment down, and then I come back to it and I'm like, oh, whoops. Okay, there's like a little ghostliness right here for some reason around this flower. Make it more sharp. I was listening to the very last part of this Pride and Prejudice audiobook. It's just gotten better and better. I never read the book before, but I found this, so I talked about it a week or two ago, that playing Code Realize introduced me to the character of Arsène Lupin, who I had never heard of before. I mean, I'd heard of Lupin the Third, the anime, but I didn't know he was a adventure character already, like from classic literature. And so in searching out audiobooks so that I could experience some of his stories, I found the audiobook I ended up choosing because I signed up for Audible. So it was like, oh, I'll get one free audiobook for doing their trial. And so I picked one by this website. The website is thebestaudiobooks.com, but their podcast is, what is it? The Classic Tales podcast. So after enjoying the audiobook that I got from Audible, I went and checked out the podcast, and I've been enjoying that. I listened to one single story, like a short story that got done in one podcast, and then the next episode that was available was the start of Pride and Prejudice, so I was like, why the heck not? I've had it sitting on my Kindle. I've had Pride and Prejudice sitting on my Kindle forever, just like so many other classic stories, but I never got around to actually reading it. So may as well just try the audiobook, and I did, and it just got better and better, and now I'm on the very last segment, so the podcast divided it into 14 segments. So at first I was just listening to it every time I took a shower, so just like one every shower, but then for the last couple days, as the book has been like ramping up and getting into its last chapters, I just like couldn't put it down, and I just have my Bluetooth speaker next to me and lay on my bed just to listen to the story more. So today I took a shower and it was only 2 parts left, and the first of these 2 parts was only 45 minutes, so I just kept listening even though it was getting closer and closer time to start streaming. So I have my speaker sitting over there, so as soon as I'm done, I can start listening again and finishing the story. It's like it's so good, even though of course there's things that are no longer relevant, and ideas about what women should be and stuff, but it's also good because the main character, in ways that are appropriate to her time, sort of rebels against that, or she's not cowed by that stuff. She still has her own sense of self or whatever. It's really good, and I've been liking her more and more. Especially, there's a point where she realizes that she's been not stupid, but she let her pride get away with her, and realizing that there can be 2 sides to a story or whatever. And she was just very quick to admit that to herself, which even today is something that people just aren't willing to do. They're not willing to admit, oh, I was so wrong. And she felt really bad about it and everything, but she recovered as well. She didn't like mope forever about it. So I see now why it's another one of those books that endures. Unfortunately, I haven't had that experience with all of the old, I guess classic stories is the best way to do it. Best way to say the genre I'm speaking of. All those old stories that are now public domain. Actually, there's only one I can think of that didn't live up to expectations, and indeed was extremely disappointing. And that was Les Miserables. I was so bored and frustrated reading that book. And I honestly think the majority of people who are like, oh, how can you not love it, or whatever, you see it on the book review sites and stuff. Oh, you people giving it low stars, you're like, you don't appreciate anything. And I honestly think a great majority of those people are like, they probably experienced the musical first, which I still haven't seen in any form. And that colors their opinion. Like, even if they did read the whole book and found themselves enjoying it, perhaps if they hadn't been already influenced by the musical, they wouldn't have such a high and unyielding opinion of it. But that's the only one. Everything else I've read, I just love it. And I just love classic literature for the most part. And I think I can give a little bit of leeway for Les Miserables because it was one of those serial publications. So that explains why it would be chapters at a time where I'm like, oh, and I'm just like skipping it. Like, let's go to the next chapter. I'm sick of hearing about the author's opinion about the war, whatever. But that's still not that big of an excuse, because one of the best classic stories I've ever read was The Count of Monte Cristo, and it was published serially as well, and it was so good. So even though it was such super long book, so long, just like it just kept going and going, but I enjoyed every minute of it. It was so awesome. Like, I never got tired of reading it. So it's not that good of an excuse to be like, oh well, it's because it was published serially. Not when that Count of Monte Cristo was just so freaking good. But maybe also it's because the genres are different. Because Count of Monte Cristo was adventure. I don't know what they would call, I don't know what they classify Les Miserables as. But I gave it a really honest try. I tried it. I very rarely give up a book entirely, but that was one. That was one that I just could not. I was thinking, when you get to the point where you start thinking about your life and the minutes left in it and how you have a limited amount of time, I think that's a really good sign that you shouldn't read that book anymore. If it starts making you think of your mortality because it feels like such a waste of your time, then I don't care what the book is. I don't care how good anybody else says it is. Just give it up and move on to something that you actually enjoy. Because in the end, the only person it really matters to is yourself, whether you've read this classic book or not. And once you're dead, you're not going to worry about that anymore. So better spend your time enjoying the stuff you read, or at least being challenged by it or moved by it, even if it's not necessarily pleasure you're getting out of it. But if you're just okay, this is ironic. I was going to say, if you're just miserable reading it, I was miserable reading Les Miserables, so I guess it lived up to its title. Didn't know it was going to be the readers that it was directed at. Les Miserables, my readers. I love everything else I've read, though. That doesn't seem to be genre, because this Pride and Prejudice is like a romance book, I guess. I don't know what else you'd call it. I definitely consider it a romance book. And I'm loving it. And I've loved all the mystery stories I've either heard or read, especially all the Sherlock Holmes stuff. Love it. Love every single story I've read. What else? Oh, Gulliver's Travels. That book was awesome. That book was hilarious too, considering how old it is. It's amazing that how applicable it still was. Gulliver's Travels is one that I would read again. Like, it wasn't one like I enjoyed it and that's it and put it away and never think about it again. Like, it still applies to today. It's kind of sad, actually. Sad that this political satire and social satire is still relevant, even how many years? At least 100 years later, maybe more like 100. I'm not sure when it was written. 1800s. The guy who wrote it, I can't remember his name. Oscar Wilde. I'm not an expert on I'm not like a literature major or something. I just enjoy reading, that's all. Talking so much about books. Okay. It's getting harder and harder to tell where I need more shadow. It's like this flower in particular. I want to make sure the shadow indicates that it's not completely laid down yet. So I'm on purpose leaving some of this stuff lighter. So maybe I should bring the shadow out this way. Glad this dries pretty quick. Of course it makes sense. I'm using such a tiny little brush, it doesn't put very much water down. So there's not very much wet stuff to dry in the first place, but still, it's nice. Because it dries so quick I can get back to work. I guess that shows how biased, I don't know, how much I love watercolor when I'm like, oh, come on, dry. And watercolor is the fastest drying paint method. Well, maybe some more extremely modern techniques like what am I trying to say? Like spray paint. Maybe, but I don't think so, because spray paint is still acrylic, I believe. It's usually acrylic based. So even then, I think watercolor dries faster. Though the relevance of watercolor versus spray paint drying is extremely low. Like, I don't know any practical reason why you'd need to compare that. Like, should I use spray paint or should I use watercolor for this? Based only on how fast they dry. I don't think anybody's saying that. Okay, let's see. And I feel like right here is just a little too light in general. I'm just going to do a really light, even application here. And use a huge brush to spread the shadow color around. I'm really happy I figured out what to do with my hair when I shower right before streaming. Because before, I would let it air dry like normal, but it would get all in my face, and that's super annoying. Because my hair is super long. So it would be like, hanging right down in my way. But if I just put it in a bun, it gives me a headache after a while, so that wasn't working. Then I realized I could just do a simple braid, and then I don't like it to lay against my back because it makes me cold because it's still wet. So I've been wrapping the braid around my head, and that's working great. Like, I don't get a headache since it's braided instead of tied into a tight bun. But I also get it takes a lot longer to dry, of course, but it looks nice when I take it out of the braid since I have curly hair. Like, ideally I would just let it air dry hanging down because that's when my curls look the best. But I have so much to do, I don't have time for air drying. I only let it air dry when I know I'm going to something really nice in the evening or whatever. And I want to let my hair be in its ideal state. Then I lay down and listen to audiobooks. Let my hair dry and listen to audiobooks. I really think I'm getting there. I gotta tell you, this brush is so comfortable. It has such a, I'm sure you can't tell on the camera, but it just has such a lovely velvety texture. Not that it's fabric, but it's just so soft. It's really nice to hold it. Okay. I'll add some more. This is still wet. Still a little bit damp, so I won't do anything there. Okay, let me hold this way up. Okay, I think I'm just going to take a break from this section because what I really need to do is set this up all the way across the room and just like sit and look at it for 10 minutes. So I'll just leave that and I'll do that later. Well, I know I said I'd do that yesterday, but I forgot. In the meantime, I need to get some more. I don't think I want to use this color. I want to use something that makes this different. Because I did use this color in the back, although I'm going to put a little right here. Use this color in the back. That's fine because it's receding into the background, but I want to make sure that this part of the nest is clearly front part. It's like right now it's standing out pretty well, but it's super flat. And I've got my reference up, so I need to leave a few of these sticks quite bright, but not all of them, because this reference image, the way they're stacked like this, some are in super deep darkness, but I think as long as I don't actually go this dark. I'm going to keep that aside though, in case I see anything else I want to add to the background area. I love watercolor too, because even though it's usually said to be like, oh, once you put it down, you can't mess with it anymore, you actually can subtly move the color around, and I love that. As long as you're not trying to like with the oil painting, like push it all the way to the side, like you painted it and then the next day you come back and you're like, I want to actually smear it over here. You can do that with oil, because oil takes like weeks to fully dry. In fact, on really thick painting, it can take months or even years to really dry down to the base level, to the canvas. Okay, so what color am I going to use for shadow here, or at least darken it a little bit, even if it's not shadow exactly. What's this? Is this one? Yes. Is this one? I think I need a slightly more red color, but this isn't very dark. What do we got here? 1910. Oh, yeah, this does go here. Red oxide. 1910. Let's see. Ooh, might be a little too red. Actually, that would be a good color to add to the squirrel part of the griffin. I'm going to write it down for that purpose. But that's not what I want to use on the nest. Oh, that's this one. Oh, what the heck. I'll start with this. I'll start with this color. It's something I wanted to do. I was thinking about it last night as I was falling asleep. I wanted to add some more details in these areas that I put in purple shadows. Yeah, like that. I was like visually imagining it as I fell asleep. think that the fact that that unbidden, the thoughts of this illustration came to mind means that I've really been working on it hard. My brain is like trying to solve it. Yes, that's how I feel about art. It's a puzzle that I create and solve myself. I create problems for myself and then I solve them. And I think that's one of the most fun parts of making art. Okay, we'll start with that. I'm gonna have to sharpen this after I'm done painting these little sections, because it's just too dull. There's little details that I need done. I need it to be really sharp so I can get in those corners. I just thought about how Soon was barking again earlier. I really hope that it was my Fitbit. So looking forward to it. I've been wanting one that I can swim with for a long time. Maybe even since around this time, actually May of last year. So over a year, because that's when I joined my gym, which I love. And I go there almost every weekday. Except for they canceled my Thursday class, so I'm going as often. But, oh yeah, they have a swimming pool, so I started swimming and I got like a nose plug and everything. Look, I missed a spot. But trying to track a swim workout with not a waterproof Fitbit or anything, it's not very satisfying to look at the results when you just put in your estimated distance based on how many laps you swam and your amount of minutes that you took to do it, because I'm sure I'm not very good at swimming. So I am absolutely sure that if it had my heart rate data to also take into account, it would give me much higher calorie burn rate, and all that stuff would be much higher, because it's really hard for me to swim, especially swimming back and forth. It takes a lot of effort, so I'm definitely putting in more effort than just putting in distance and time and doing a simple calculation that way gives me. So we'll see. Though recently I decided that, well, I never had a class on Tuesday, but they canceled my Thursday class, and I thought that I should start swimming on Thursdays instead. But then I realized that it's a perfect opportunity to walk my dog, because ever since he got attacked last February, I think, no, it was last March, well, 2 Marches ago now, he got attacked by some dogs that just came out of a house. I do not feel confident walking him by myself, because at that time, with that experience, I was like beating on the dogs as hard as I could to get them to stop, and I bruised my arm very badly, wailing on them to get them to stop attacking, and they didn't even pay me any mind. Like, they didn't care that I was hitting them as hard as I could, using my forearm just like a blunt object. It was a gut reaction. There was probably if I kicked, but in the heat of the moment, you just do what instinctually comes to mind. Anyway, after that, I just don't have the confidence to walk him by myself, because he's not very big, and I walk him with a lead with a, what do they call it? The brand name is Gentle Leader. It's a head collar. so that he doesn't drag me around, or if he like sees a cat he wants to chase, he can't pull away from me. But that also means that if another animal attacks him, he's less able to defend himself. And like those two dogs came and worked together as a team and like circled around him like a yin yang, and I couldn't do anything. So being able to walk him with my husband in the mornings, I decided that's a good idea so that he can get more walks in per week. So now I'm not sure where I'm gonna fit in swimming. That's what I was all leading up to, is that I've got my swim tracking Fitbit on its way today, or it might even be here. But when am I going to swim? I mean, what the heck? I might swim on weekends, or it's hard because I can't walk soon at night because it's summer now, so the streets and the sidewalks are just too hot. And he's such a little finicky dog that I know he would hate to have little booties on. He'd never walk. Like, he would just be trying to throw them off the whole time. So those would be a waste of money, and it would be frustrating. It's already frustrating enough because he likes to check under cars for cats, and if he thinks he sees something, then he tries to go get it. And it's like, walking him is not always like a calm, fun, gentle experience. Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm tired of walking, soon keep pulling me around. And so yeah, walking him in the morning, Tuesday, Thursday mornings, I think that's the best thing to do right now. I was thinking, ever since I saw this little mini video thing at the gym, some boxer or something in his training program, and it was like, when I'm training for a fight, then I do 2 workouts a day. And I'm like, 2 workouts a day? I mean, I guess that's a professional athlete for you, but I'm like, man, I barely have time to fit in my 1 hour long thing. Fitting in 2 workouts, like, I wouldn't be able to do so much stuff that I also want to do with my time. But at the same time, I really want to get more fit than even I already am. I really want to like build up huge muscles and huge strength as well. I want to increase my endurance for running. I wouldn't mind getting better at swimming. There's all this stuff I want to do, but 2 workouts a day, because a lot of people want to oversimplify stuff and tell others that, oh, you just need to make the time. Anybody can work out or whatever. But being in the position I am now, where I have lots more free time than I ever did, and I don't have to work a 40+ hour a week job anymore and that kind of thing. Like, maybe technically, if you're only looking at like numbers and hours in a day, sure, you could say that anybody could make time. But people are living creatures. They're not, machines that operate on time schedules, even though that's what, everybody wants. And there's a psychological element to it. If you're just freaking exhausted from work, whatever your work is, or from your home life, or from, who knows, all this stuff, saying, oh, you can make half an hour in your day to go on a walk or go to the gym or whatever, that's just completely unreasonable. And it's unkind too, because people have lots of different circumstances. They have lots of different stuff to deal with. And so yeah, I don't even remember what got me on that subject. That really bugs me when people are like that, when they make assumptions about others and make all things equal without considering circumstances and the fact that people have needs other than physical needs. They have mental and emotional needs. And it's not easy to make time for a workout every day. Like, it took me like 15 years to get to the point where I am now, because I've been working on my fitness level since high school. And it's always been by myself, so it was especially hard. Like, I never had any like buddy who stuck with me and encouraged me all along and gave me tips and whatever. No, I just had to keep working with myself and figuring myself out, figuring how to make it happen, because I just wanted to be healthy more than anything else. Of course, there were other stuff like I want to look good, or I want to be really good at some sort of physical thing or whatever. But more than anything, I looked at my family and their medical history, their health, their history of health, and I did not want to be par for the course, I guess you could say. I didn't want to end up having multiple heart attacks or having diabetes or whatever. I have so much stuff. Cancer's in my family, so much is in my family. And looking at the lifestyle of most of my family on both sides, it's clearly heavily influenced by the nurture part, not the nature part. Like, we are not preordained to have all these diseases and stuff. It's because it's been generations and generations of unhealthy living, unhealthy lifestyles. So I've been working extremely hard, and it's only now in the past couple of years out of my 32-year life that I've gotten so fit, and I just love any sort of physical activity and any opportunity to do an active lifestyle event of any kind. And sometimes it's just too expensive, because some of these events are like a bunch of people were doing a Spartan race here in Boise, and it seemed super fun, and I was looking at the prices and I'm like, I can't afford $175 to run through mud and climb ropes. Like, it seemed super fun until that point. I would rather just keep paying the $20 to $40, depending on whatever, to do my most common events like road races, running events. It's what I do the most. Almost $200, and I know there was discounts for teams and stuff like that, but maybe next year or something. Maybe they have a pre-sale thing, or a early buy-in? What would the word be? Where you sign up super early sign up discount. Maybe next year. It's interesting because I made a friend who I don't even hear from anymore, but made a friend at the beginning of the year because she was looking for people who came to the classes in the mornings because she wanted to get back in shape, and she was looking forward to coming to the classes every day or whatever. And I guess the time of day got to her, and she fell off. But she's the first person I heard of this Spartan race from, and she really wanted to do it. I wonder if she did or not. I didn't see any pictures from her. I hope she did it, because she seemed really proud of all of her previous I don't want to say attempts, because it's not like she didn't achieve her previous experiences with it. She finished them, And like she was like proud of all the burpees she had to do and stuff. And I'm like, oh God, burpees, those are the worst. Those are the worst. I hate burpees not perhaps for the same reason that other people do. I think other people hate them just because, you know, they're hard. But for me, they always raise the pressure in my head so that I can feel my face is extremely red and it feels like it's swelling up. And I just get the worst headache for like the rest of the day. And I think it's because the blood is rushing back and forth as I get up and down, up and down. So I really don't like burpees for that reason. I don't like a lot of stuff where I have to get down on the ground just because the blood keeps rushing into my head. It's so uncomfortable. Yeah, I'll just keep adding more of this color. Doing it branch by branch instead of in big sections like I was just doing here. Of course, I did this branch by branch for the first 2 times as well. But for this, I want to single out specific branches that look like they're on the top of all the other ones, so they'd be sticking out the most. And then in areas where it looks like lots of branches are behind, I want to add more shadow. I also got to be careful, what I was saying earlier, with forgetting that I put down pencil. I guess it's tough because this is like, it all looks the same. So in that brief second, when I turn away to get my brush and water, I lose the spot that I was working on. Visually lose it. I think this is working really well though. I really like how it's looking. Just going to keep adding and keep adding. I also want to have it darker at the bottom and lighter at the top. So, like, even though this branch is clearly on top of everything else in this section, I'm going to add a little shadow here because I don't need it. Anything that's bright is going to stand out, and there's no reason to bring attention to this little part of the picture. Oh man, I'm suddenly very thirsty. It's because I've been talking a lot this time. Yesterday I was so focused, I wasn't no one to chat to, so just like thinking about my painting. Here is so hard because I've got these little green branches. Let's see, right here. I guess for the most part this should be darker because I think the branches would be making it darker. I keep calling them branches, they're needles, pine needles. Yeah, this is so much nicer now that it's sharper. You can get right in this little thin area. Okay, let's start with that. little part. Can't wait to find out what happens at the end of Pride and Prejudice. I mean, the biggest thing has already happened. I was able to hear that much. It was such a relief. I was like, I know it's gonna happen, but come on. I was like, when is he gonna show up again? Who cares about Mr. Bennett or whatever? No, not Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bingley, I think. Like, who gives a crap? Come on, resolve that. Resolve that. Let's go. It finally happened. This audiobooks that this guy does are very good. I do recommend it. It's called the podcast is called Classic Tales Podcast, and the website is thebestaudiobooks.com. I really recommend checking it out. At the beginning of each podcast, it asks listeners to join and pay $5 a month to help support the podcast. And I would really love to do that, but I need to... It's like if I had one more supporter on Patreon at the $5 level, then I would be able to afford to put $5 into the audiobooks podcast. But for now, I don't have... I mean, I need to start being more careful with my expenditures, because I'm really not making very much right now. I occasionally get an Etsy sale. This time of year, Etsy is always super dead for the stuff that I offer. And then I have one wonderful friend supporting me on Patreon. But it's not like a livable income or anything. So I really need to be careful. Let's see, okay. Let's add some more. Let's add some more right here. Well, I'm hoping by continuing to work diligently every day, keep making new art, I can attract more people to my side. And they would be new supporters, either through buying stuff from my online shops or commissioning me to create art for them or supporting me monthly on Patreon. I feel like as long as I keep working and showing that I'm serious, showing that I really want to make beautiful artwork, that I'm always trying to improve my skills so that I'm making worthwhile artwork. But it's hard when this is the kind of stuff I really want to do, and as you can tell from my daily progress, it takes a long time. Completing stuff like this takes so long. When I first started this project, I figured I could get one of these illustrations done per month. One Gryphon done per month. And then I would have a whole calendar ready after a year. And I could start offering a calendar with all of the illustrations, or as a test, I got the first illustration printed as postcards, and then I could start selling like a 12 postcard set with all of the illustrations in them. But it's taking more like 1.5 to 2 months per illustration, and the 1.5 is just when I am super focused and I'm not doing anything else, not distracted by any other project. It's like this one is taking me way longer. I don't know, maybe it's also because as with everything with my art, the more I figure out, like let me start this way. The more, when I was younger and first starting to learn, to teach myself how to get better at drawing and such. I thought, once I get better, I'll be able to create art faster, and it won't take me so long. So it always took me a long time back then too, but no, what I've learned is, as I get better at what I had previously been doing, I then learn how to do other stuff, and so it ends up taking me just as long because I have even more skills to apply, even more techniques that I want to use. And so actually the complete opposite has happened. Instead of getting faster thanks to improving my skill level, I've gotten even slower overall. Not that like certain things now take me longer, but that I have more to do. I guess it also goes back to what I always thought would be good, which is having more detail. I like more detail in my work, and that just takes more time. So like a lot of people, I want instant gratification, and that just does not happen. That is not a thing that's happening with this kind of art. No instant. I have to be extremely patient and also diligent. But live streaming has been really helpful with that, because I'm always excited to start a new project. Keeping it going is what's often the most difficult part for me, especially when it's a huge multiple part project like this. But having the live stream, even if nobody's watching, there's always the potential that somebody could come watch. So it encourages me to work. And I've gotten through a lot of stuff with this illustration in particular that I might never have if not for the live stream. I specifically remember it was thanks to streaming it that I finally drew this freaking nest. That's what took me so long in the first place, was once I got to this point, to this nest, I was just overwhelmed by the difficulty. This intricate thing that I wanted to look believable. I didn't want it to be a super simplified, like, oh, okay, that's probably a nest. No, I want it to be really believable that this is a nest that this creature created. And so I kept putting it off, and that's why, even though I started this piece last February, no, I can't say last February, 2 Februaries ago, it wasn't until this year when I started live streaming that I finally started making real progress after that point. Now, what the heck? I know I just... Well, hopefully I'll find it again. Ooh, this part is back behind, and this part, actually all these parts are. How's that? Okay. Let's see. Keep trying to hold the brush and the pencil at the same time, and it's just not working. Okay, this is definitely behind. And this stuff. And this one. And this part. These pencils are just the best. These Inktense pencils. This is the experience I always wanted out of watercolor pencils. I don't know why none of them do. Maybe I am mostly self-taught for watercolor, so maybe I just don't understand what the typical traditional watercolorist wants out of watercolor. But for me, I want bright, vibrant color. And all the other brands I've ever used of watercolor pencils are just pathetic. But not these. These are bold. You don't have to put very much down to get a nice wash of color. In fact, you have to be careful not to put too much down and get too much color. I'm so glad that Amazon just suggested these to me. That's where I found out about them, just from an Amazon, like, you've been looking at this kind of stuff, we think you might like this, you know, and it's a little suggestion at the bottom of the page. It's kind of ironic, though. I didn't realize when I saw these that they were actually watercolor pencils. I wanted them before I realized that they were watercolor pencils. It was my sister that was reading the tin, and she was like, oh, they're watercolor. I'm like, what? What? I thought they were just a really cool colored pencil at first. And now they've gone and exceeded my expectations. They're so great because you can do like I'm doing right now. You can just take the color off of the tip of the pencil, or you can color directly on the page. And if you color on the page, you can either color on a dry spot, which is mostly what I do, or if you want some really bold marks that will be very difficult to budge, you can get paper wet first. But I don't usually want that effect. How are we doing? A little more here, because this one is on top of it. Can't wait to finish my audiobook. Just keep thinking about it. But as a fellow copyright holder of stuff, I won't like play it on my stream or anything during my stream, because I would hate if somebody used my art for promoting themselves or something and didn't obtain permission first. Not just ask for permission, but actually receive my permission. Some people think that all you have to do is ask, and I think that's horrible. That by asking they will default get, like, they deserve it because they took the time to ask. But I guess that's only the second worst thing. The worst thing is people just using it without your permission at all. That's why I try not to post too large of images, because I have seen so many people's art stolen, especially by unscrupulous companies in foreign countries. Generally, I'm not like anti-foreign or whatever, but since international laws regarding that stuff, it's like you have to be rich to be able to pursue a copyright case in another country. So someone in China or Russia or Italy even, because I believe an artist I knew in high school had her art stolen and printed on t-shirts in Italy and then sold online, of course. It's really horrible. So I try not to post too large of images. I want to post them large enough so people can appreciate the artwork, but not so large that people could make a lot of good prints and stuff out of them. Of course, I know if they are determined to use my art, they can. There's all kinds of things they can do to use it. Luckily, I've never actually had an egregious case of art theft happen to me in my work. I have had a couple of, little minor, someone's using it as their banner on their website, back when everybody had their own website in the early 2000s. That's not as big a deal as someone making money off of my hard work. That's where the problem comes in, especially because I'm trying really hard to make a living. Trying to build a lifetime career. People taking advantage of that is like a big slap in the face. Like, at least, but they don't have much money, and that's why they steal it. It's like, at least if these companies would just pay you, or offer to pay you. But no, they can get it for free. Starting to get really antsy for my audiobook. Want my audiobook? I want to know how things go down with Lady, what's her face? She was all high and mighty about her position and whatnot. This book really is really good. Like, at first it seemed a little stuffy, like, oh, Victorian high society. Or whatever, and I'm like, well, whatever. They're going to a ball and whatever. But then it got more, it's like not until the second half of the book do people really start having personalities described and differences in character. Like, at first it seemed like, all the Bennett sisters, they're pretty much all the same. That's what it seemed like. But then by the end you have a very distinct, each of them is described. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the point of waiting until the last half of the book to describe that is, but it was definitely worth it to wait around and find out, because it really made the book interesting. Of course, they show the main character, Elizabeth, to be a bit more, the author gave her more personality from the very beginning. My left ear is ringing out of nowhere. Stop, ear, stop it. It's kind of going away. Man, I ate my snack right before the stream, but I already feel hungry. Being on a low-calorie diet sucks, but it's working. Like, I weighed myself today. Today was my weekly fat percentage weigh-in, and I'm down to 28%. And I think I was at 30% when I started at the beginning of the year, and I've dropped 10 pounds. 10 pounds and at least 2 solid fat percentage. And right now I'm doing really well with sticking to it. The reduced calories. It's, even though I get hungry because I have so much else to do, I think this is why I've been able to really stick with it. I was going to stop and switch to a muscle gain diet, so higher calories than a maintenance diet, and a very high protein, of course. But then I read a blog, because I was wondering if that's a good idea, switching back and forth, if that's a good idea. And it seems it's not a bad idea. This blog said that bodybuilders do it all the time, because first they go through a period of building up all their muscle, and then when it gets closer to time to a competition, they switch to a fat loss diet to trim up so that that muscle shows. So it's not a problem at all for me to switch back and forth, but I was super glad I found this blog, because it also explained that it's a very bad idea to just suddenly switch from one to the other. What you need to do is go to a maintenance diet in between, because your body has been running on a deficit for so long that as soon as you start eating more calories, it's like, oh God, we gotta store these so before the next starvation period, like the next time of want or whatever. And it makes sense. I mean, it didn't explain it like that. It explained it in more scientific terms, but that's what I was imagining my body was like. We need to go for the lean times, like it thinks it's winter and there's nothing to eat. So, you gotta switch to a maintenance diet for 2 to 3 weeks, it said. I figure I'd just do a month, because that's easier for me to keep track of. Just do it by month, like, oh, this month I'm doing this. But so, like, at first when I read that, I thought, okay, I will go to a maintenance diet for the next month, and then a muscle building diet for the next month after that. But now, because I'm aiming for doing another All Might cosplay, I want to do UA school uniform. But now I've just been doing so well on my fat loss diet that I think I might just continue it as long as I can, either until I really need a break psychologically, or until I reach my fat loss goals, which I kind of have a number in mind, but I'm just looking at what my body is looking like. It's more about how my muscle is showing up than anything else, than any number. So I might just continue this instead of switching after all. As long as I am in the groove, I may as well continue. Let's keep it going as long as possible. 'Cause I'm the type of personality that gets really disrupted by unexpected stuff. Or even expected stuff, but if it's... So, like, I was thrown off track for a long time this year when I had to move, and that was like, it was a good thing, and I was looking forward to it, and it was like one of the best things that happened in my adult life, moving into this new house. But it was such a disruption that I totally fell off of my 1500 calorie diet, and I wasn't exercising like I needed to be. It's not like everything flew out the window or anything, but I'm finally back to a point where everything is super stable. And since it's time like these when I really am able to stay on track and not even have to think about it, I should probably make the most of it before the next thing happens, because there'll always be another thing that happens. That's just always going to be the case. But my biggest efforts at self-improvement recently have been learning how to work with myself and work with my own personality. So I think one of those is taking advantage of times like these, where everything is going my way. Man, this is looking super good. I'm really happy. Just working on it a little stick at a time. It's a little shade different here and there. This is a great color choice. I'm glad I picked this. I mean, I'm not like trying to boast of myself or whatever. I'm just really pleased. So I don't want too much light. I want an extremely subtle vignette effect around the corners. There's just no reason to bring attention to the corners, so I didn't need to make them darker, so that attention is just naturally brought to the lighter areas where I'm going to keep a lot of this stuff really light. Light, bright, adding in highlights. I'll probably do some paper cutting along the edges of these feathers here, because they have just got this stark white line along the edge in some of the reference pictures I've got. And probably adding white gouache to areas like on the eye, maybe on the beak, to give it a nice highlight. But in order to make those areas really shine like I want to, I've got to get rid of too much brightness in other areas. This isn't going to be the only shadow color I use in this section, but I want to do as much as I can with it first before moving on to another color. And then I won't have to worry about this color anymore. Yes, that looks so good. It looks so good. All right. Add more to this section. Ah, a little kitty hair. It's like I try to keep the kitties out of here. I guess I let Soon in here sometimes too, and he's shedding like crazy still. He's still blowing out for summer. It's like you brush him and brush him for hours, and the next day it's like you didn't do anything. Adding all this dark stuff too is really helpful in clearing up the mistake I made with inking. Makes it even more clear what's what. I'm glad at least if I made a mistake, it's over here in the corner. Because when this is being judged, you might not notice. You might not even notice it. I don't know if that is a judgment that will like win or lose me a prize. Oh, too bad she messed up the ink here. We would have given her first place. Instead, she's not even gonna get a ribbon. Like I don't know if it's that strict. I'm not making something for a theme or anything. They do have a theme every year, but I just like to make what I want to make. Submit it into the most appropriate category. Gosh, I'm getting hungry. And my lower back's starting to hurt. I just don't know if I can do 2 hours. I mean, I can. I can do 2 hours. I got this. It's because I'm always leaning over. Always bending my back inappropriately. Not inappropriately in like a lewd way. And we need a little more over here. I'm super excited to finish all the shading and get to adding the highlights and other details like that. Maybe another reason I was thinking about this, it's the first time I remember thinking about this at a time when I had no reason at all to be thinking about my artwork. Maybe it's because now that I'm working on shading, it really feels like it's getting done. It feels so close to done, even though there's plenty of stuff left to do. Just getting all that base color on there is such a huge step. I think my subconscious feels it too. Trying to make this an even transition between the needles. Keep calling them branches. They're not branches, they're needles. Anyway, trying to make this look like it's the same branch going behind the needles. So it needs to be even though I'm having to color each block separately, so that makes it a little harder. I want to make sure there's not too much light stuff at the bottom here. Got the corners. Apparently Twitch is slowing down my browser because Mozilla just gave me a little pop-up like, a web page is slowing down your browser. What would you like to do? Stop it or wait. No, I'm just gonna leave it. It's fine, Firefox. It's okay. Hopefully my video stream is coming through alright. I've been playing with the bit rate because I've been noticing it looking jumpy on my end. I haven't had anybody to tell me from a different point of view, a viewer, to tell me whether it's jumpy on their end as well. But just in case, I've been reducing the bit rate. I'd really rather not make it any lower than it is, but since I've got my reference image up, I can't tell today whether it's been jumpy or not. And now with this little pop-up, I wonder if it's ever been my stream that was the problem. Maybe it was just on my browser that I was seeing the jumpiness. Oh, can't wait to eat my lunch. Can't wait for my lunch. I want to eat my delicious lunch. I think I'm going to add some more ink lines once I'm done here. There's some areas where but it doesn't matter. I'll leave it. It's not a big part of the piece. The nest isn't the main focus here. It'll be okay. I think I'm gonna do a bunch of shadow all on this stick because I don't like how it's standing out against the tail. Standing out too much. Yeah, I like that better. I'm gonna switch back to this one. Wow, that tap was loud. Okay, I'm gonna bring this. So on this side, the shadow's coming all up the side, but on this side, it's not really. I think I should do that. And even it out. Yeah, I think I'm getting close to done for today. In fact, I'm just gonna look at this real quick, but if I don't see anything that I really want to work on right now, maybe I'll add a little bit to this stick to help it stand out in this one from the tail. Oh, can't wait to find out what happens at the end of my audiobook. The end of Pride and Prejudice. Such a good story. Really like it a lot. I just started thinking about it again. That's why I started talking about it again. I'm still looking at this, but I think I'm done for today. I'm gonna take a break. I got a ton done as far as details. Got lots of shadow added around the flowers. They are really standing out nicely now. I am very happy. I bet when I set this up somewhere and look at it from very far away, like across the room, they're gonna stand out really well. Hopefully the Gryphon is also standing out enough. I got some great shading done on this nest. I'm really happy with how this is coming along. I think this is a good place to stop for now. So that's it for live streaming this for this week, this particular piece. I'll be back tomorrow, but it's Chibi Friday, so I'm going to draw a chibi. I'm not sure what yet. I'll be thinking about it, but I hope to see you then. Thank you for watching.